Alright, so a couple days ago I talked about the state of Maine, and today we're going to talk about North Dakota. And it's kind of interesting that all of these reports are coming out now, like right after the World Cup ends. But we're going to hear from a few business owners in North Dakota, and each one of them have a common thing. They're seeing less Canadians. Some of them are saying they're struggling to meet ends meet, and others are saying, yeah, we got less Canadians, but we're having a spectacular summer. I don't know, it kind of reminds me of this meme when I read it. But the United States has nothing to hide behind anymore. I mean, they were hiding behind the America 250 and the World Cup. But those are over now and it's long gone, and to be honest, nobody cared about their 250. But I'm going to share what these business owners are saying. These are people that, like many Canadians, used to spend their hard-earned money at their stores, or shops, or restaurants. So for anybody in Manitoba that used to go to Pembina, it's Pembina, right? This report's going to be for you. And I hope it brings a smile to your face, because it did for me. And just one thing before I start, if you do want to support my channel, the Guard the Leaf Substack page as well as the Buy Me a Coffee page are up and running. And the links are on the bottom right. I actually made a new overlay because I was kind of getting sick of the other one, and I felt like this one, I felt like I needed to kind of spruce it up and start over again. But I am very thankful for everyone that has contributed to my Buy Me a Coffee as well as subscribed to my Substack page. My Substack page is actually free, so I mean you can subscribe and not have to pay at all. But if you do want to pay it, it is greatly appreciated. And I am starting to get the hang of like writing articles, and I actually enjoy it, even if my grammar's all over the place. But if you want to check them out, I'll leave a link in the description below as well as a pinned comment. And I thank everybody for their support. Now, before I get started on North Dakota, I do want to remind everybody what the voting results were for the state of North Dakota. And you can see here on this political page, Taco Tuesday has 67.5% of the votes, and the actual vote numbers is 246,505. And if I zoom in on Pembina County, 76.1% voted for Taco Tuesday. And I know what some of my haters are going to say. They're going to say, like, why does it matter who they voted for? Well, it matters to me, because I don't want to hear a sob story and find out that they actually did vote for Taco Tuesday. That's just my opinion. They don't get any sympathy from me. And whenever we hear a struggling business in the United States, it's on everybody's mind. Who did this person vote for? So I'm just saying it out loud. So unfortunately, if you don't like me pointing out every time that we need to kind of consider who they voted for, all I have to say is sorry. So let's get started with this report from NPR News, and it's titled, Fewer Canadian Shoppers Leave Border Crossing Businesses Struggling. And for those that are just listening or the visually impaired, I'll read this one out for you. Starting with the caption, Debbie Wagle is the manager of the corner parcel in Pembina, North Dakota, pictured Wednesday, July 1st, 2026. The business acts as a U.S. address for Canadians and depends on border crossings, but fewer Canadians have been visiting recently. Gee, I wonder why. Deb Wagle is 71 years old, and she said lately she's been feeling like a young newlywed again, but not in a good way. We're back to trying to make ends meet, like we were just starting out right now, she said. She's the manager of the corner parcel in Pembina, a town of 500 in the northeast corner of North Dakota, right on the border with Minnesota and Canada. Helping them to avoid international shipping costs by acting as their U.S. address, it's one of many in Pembina. The business model depends on Canadians crossing the border, but fewer of them are. Many say they're feeling cold about America because of President Taco Tuesday's tariffs and rhetoric about annexing Canada. Now, when your business model actually depends on Canadians crossing the border and using your services as a parcel pickup, especially in this climate right now, I mean, you're doomed. The same thing is happening with the duty-free stores on both sides of the border. This is when I used to go to the Peace Arch, but obviously I'm not going anymore. But for parcel pickup businesses, to be honest, I'm actually surprised it's still open. The number of passengers crossing the Pembina border was down by nearly 35% in 2025 compared to 2024, according to data from the Bureau of Transportation. Oh, hey, the co-host is here. Hey, how's it going? Nice of you to show up. Anyways, Waco's shop has been hit hard. She says they've been getting less than half of the package they used to, and have cut their staff significantly, down to at least 6 workers a shift, just to 1. For Wago, the drop in business means no bonuses or raises, which is particularly tough because her husband's income also relies on Canadian traffic, or rather, as a Canadian truck driver, he's part of it. He works as much as he can, but there's a lot of sit and wait, because there's no loads, she said. It's hard. We're having a very hard time making ends meet, and I'm too old for that. She's unable to retire, she said. It would be too much of a strain on her husband. It makes me glad that my kids are all grown and gone in that aspect, because I don't know how these young parents can raise children anymore, she said. We don't go anywhere. We don't do anything. We just do what we have to survive, day by day. So I don't know how people are surviving. Now, there's 2 ways I'm looking at this right now, and obviously, like, who this person voted for is going to be swaying the direction of, what I say. Now, I don't have any evidence on what she voted, or who she voted for. But if she's part of this 104 or even 34 that did not vote for Taco Tuesday, she should be mad at the 2,350 that did. Now, if she's part of the 2,350 that did vote for Taco Tuesday, then you probably should have thought about this before you checked the box beside his name. Especially running a business that's so reliant on like the Canadian customers, there's really nobody else to blame except yourself if you did vote for Taco Tuesday. So if you're making ends meet, I'm sorry to say, I mean, you kind of did this to yourself. But if you did vote for Harris, I mean, you should be mad at your neighbors. Now let's move on to the next business. Border business blues. The Parcel business has been particularly affected, but other border town businesses say they are feeling it too. Pembina grocery store, D&K Grocery, has been owned by Deanna Hager and her husband for more than 20 years. Canadians would frequently cross the border to buy foods that are expensive or hard to get back home. But now, business is down by 15% because of the decline of Canadian customers, she said. We used to have our regular customers that would come for 2-3 times a week from Canada, and now they don't. Like Wago, Hager said the downturn has started to make an impact on their finances. There are things we just don't do, she said. Just travel here or there, you just gotta mind your P's and Q's till things start picking up again. You might be waiting a little while on that. The story is similar in Lancaster, Minnesota, a small town just 25 miles east of Pembina. The border crossing there gets much less traffic, but still, local businesses say they're feeling the cold shoulder from the northern neighbors. A lot of people are not coming down anymore, said Shannon Langerud, who has owned the town's grocery store, J&S Foods, with her husband since 2019. The decline of Lancaster seems to be multifaceted. Lake Bronson is nearby and usually a tourist attraction for Canadians, but it's been closed since 2024, as the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources replaces its dam. Some Canadians also said the weakening of the Canadian dollar makes it too expensive to travel. Fuck that. I realize the United States is never going to stop blaming that. Even when, say for example, if the dollar gets back up to, par, they'll end up just blaming it on something else. I actually wish for that day to happen, because I want to see what they say. I just wish that we would get it just figured out and go back to the way it used to be. I don't know why I had a hard time reading that. I had to edit it 3 times. I just couldn't read that sentence for some reason. Langaroo said, our small town communities are hurting a lot right now with everything that's going on in the world. Well, my response to Langaroo is basically copy and paste on what I said to the first business. If you voted blue, you should be mad at your neighbors. If you voted red, then you got what you voted for. But I want to emphasize that these business owners that are basically telling their sob stories, these are the ones that we should be listening to see what our actual impact is on not going to the US. Don't listen to the tourism officials or the Chamber of Commerce or the researchers. Because all we hear from them is word salads and things are going to be okay or things are slightly picking up or the Canadian boycott is softening. Back to the article. In every county with a rural point of entry, jobs in the retail sector and the leisure and hospitality sector are down last year, according to data from the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development. It's impossible to determine how much of the decline in tourism depends on jobs is tied to fewer international travelers, said Anthony Schaffhauser, the Department of Regional Analysis for Northwest Minnesota. But he added, I think it's fair to say that it didn't help. Well, no shit. It could also be due to factors that make people spend less generally, including high inflation. People drop off their spendings if they're strapped for cash, he said. We don't have any way to separate just how much of that would be from US consumers cutting back and how much of it is from fewer international travelers. Well, one idea would be maybe ask the people who used to visit your country. I mean, that would be the first step I would do if I'm trying to figure out a problem. But, it's logic, right? While some Canadians may stop in border towns for snacks or a parcel, many keep driving south to spend time and money in other parts of the region, and those areas may be getting caught in the crossfire too. There's a lot of Canadian visitors that come to shop in the US. Schaffhauser said, some of the more urban areas and centers that would affect retail trade in those areas. For example, many Canadians travel to shop in the Grand Forks metro area. It's about 80 miles south of the border. This sounds like an excuse if you ask me. Pat Beaupre owns Blue Moose Cafe in East Grand Forks, Minnesota. He said the restaurant used to attract about 400 Canadians every weekend. I think I did a previous report on this restaurant and this guy. I can't remember, but he looks familiar. The last 2 years are probably down about 6 to 10% of traffic, just from Canadian traffic, he said. He said it's relatively a small portion of the business, but still, the decline means they had to cut hours. Okay, I'm just thinking out loud here, but if he's downplaying the effect of what Canadians did for his business, why do you still have to cut your hours? And just FYI, I mean, what we have to notice right now of all these business owners that I've been talking about, notice how none of them have actually mentioned anything when it comes to their own president or their own administration causing all of these problems. Okay, I think there was one that actually did mention political stuff, But all they really said was like they just hope the politics stuffs can like go away so they can get back to normal. But they are not blaming their current government. And to me, my spidey senses are just telling me I think I might know who they voted for. With a downturn in business, obviously, the money isn't coming in. So you do have to cut some certain things, he said. Now remember how I've always said that every US media report has to like end on a positive note? Well, here it is. But the data is a bit brighter heading into summer, which typically when the border crossings peak. The number of personal vehicle passengers driving into Minnesota from Canada in March, April, and May was higher than last year, but still below what they were in 2024. Vopri said he's feeling it. It's kind of starting to turn around at this point, he said. We're starting to see the summer. We've probably seen the most Canadians we've seen in the last 2 years. In Pembina, things were slowly turning around too. Border crossings in April and May were higher in 2026 than 2025. You remember how I said like the border numbers being slightly up, the US media is going to run with it? Well, here's a clear example. And it annoys the fucking shit out of me. Like, it seriously does. Let me know in the comments below if it annoys you as well, or if I'm just being nitpicky, or if I'm jaded, I guess. But I seriously can't stand it. I mean, we saw this coming from a mile away. Like, numbers being up, like maybe 2% or 3% or 5%, whatever it is. And then all of a sudden the US media kind of thinks like, oh, the boycott's softening, or things are turning back to normal. Anyways, just let me finish these few paragraphs and I'll vent after it. Deb Weigel, the manager of Corner Parcel, is more at the mercy of the borders than many. Excuse me. She's been encouraged by the uptick in crossings and customers. I'm a very firm believer that neither country can survive without the other one, she said. Well, where do I start with Deb's comment on that? I mean, Canada is starting to learn that we can actually survive without the United States. Of course, we can't cut them off 100%, but we don't have to rely on them the way we did before. And relating it down to Deb's parcel business, we don't actually need your business. When I say we, I mean Canadians. Parcel businesses all across the border are closing down right now because we're not crossing. And it tells me that Canadians are changing the way they're buying things. Yes, I used to buy things a lot and have it shipped to Blaine. And there was a benefit. I mean, there would either be free shipping or things that only ship within the United States. I can just hop across the border and get it shipped there and pick it up. But nowadays, I mean, especially now since I'm not even in the country, I don't miss it. I don't need it to survive. I might be zeroing in on this comment here because it actually kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Because in my opinion, it kind of implies that Canadians can't survive without the United States. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to like focus on her business, saying that your business is really not that important. And the fact that you've lost many Canadian customers kind of proves it right there. The Canadian customers that used to use your parcel service, they don't use it anymore for a reason. And they've moved on. They've made alternate plans and, probably ship directly to their house, or they just say, no, I don't need this product. But to say that Canada and Canadians need the US to survive tells me that Deb is not really seeing the full picture and not really understanding why we are actually pissed off, and also not understanding that we have other options. So to the 4 businesses that were actually mentioned in this article, I would suggest to actually take some time to find out why your customers, the Canadians, are actually not coming down. Because in this whole article, I didn't see one business owner putting the blame on what's actually causing all of this. And if any of the business owners happen to be watching my video right now, let me make it as easy as possible for you. I mean, even a 5-year-old can understand this. The people you should be blaming is the president, his administration, and the 77 million people that tick the box beside Taco Tuesday's name on the ballot. These are the people you should be blaming. And if you happen to have ticked the box beside Taco Tuesday's name, well, you're getting what you deserved. Now, just one more thing before I close off this video. I found this on the Boycott United States subreddit. And let me read it out. I fell off. I have returned. I fell off the boycott for a while. Could have been from laziness. I didn't analyze it. The new tariffs reminded me of the importance. I was grocery shopping and avoided Made in USA tomato paste. For products that are not clearly defined, X imported by company. I will avoid and make a note to see what is the imported country. I'm just one customer. But it's the least I can do for my country. Now, I wanted to show this post to everyone just to give everyone a reminder that those in your inner circle, they may or may not be avoiding US products. Some may be boycotting US products, but maybe not other products. But the point of me actually showing this is that for many Canadians out there, everyone has their own breaking point. Some might fall off a little bit and start, buying a US product here and there or produce. But like this person posted here, it was the latest round of tariffs that made him realize, you know what? I gotta start boycotting again. I think for anybody in the GTL community, whether you're in Canada or our international viewer, we're probably not gonna fall off and start buying US stuff again. In fact, all of the news that comes out and all of the what the fuck moments just fuels my boycott even more. But for those Canadians and international citizens that might not be as passionate about like avoiding US products as we are, sooner or later everyone's going to have their breaking point. And just like my friend that I mentioned in my last walk and talk video yesterday, his breaking point was an incident that his friends had at the border. So am I worried that the Canadian boycott of US products and travel is starting to soften as per the US media? No, not really. Not at all, to be honest. Closing out this video, I would like to thank Weavy from our Discord server for posting up this photo from Lunenburg County in Nova Scotia. I was trying to find this location on Google Maps, but I couldn't find it, so if anybody knows, please let me know. But thanks again, Weavy, for posting this on the Discord server. Hey everyone, I think that's it for this video. I don't really have anything else to talk about. But if you're still watching up to this point and you enjoyed this video, consider checking out my Buy Me a Coffee page or my Substack page as well. And any support is greatly appreciated. Even if it's just subscribing to my Substack as a free user. At least we can keep in touch. Alright everyone, that's it for this video. If you found any value in anything I said today, or you want to hear more from a Canadian and international point of view, without the US media bias, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button below. That way you'll be notified of my future videos. And don't forget to hit the bell icon and select all as well. Now, if you want to see more of my videos, check out the ones that are going to show up on your screen shortly. Thanks everyone, I'll catch you in the next one.